All right. Welcome to the Scuttlebutt podcast. I'm Rich, and today I have a special guest from Southern Alberta, Rod Graham. How are you today, big guy?
Oh, I'm doing good. You?
I'm excellent. You know what? I don't know what's the weather like there?
Uh, it's really smoky. About plus 27, I think, is the hottest it's going to get.
You know, yesterday the AC ran, and today I want to start a fire. It's 10 degrees here.
Yeah.
And it's raining. I'm not going to complain though, man. Do we need the rain?
Oh, we need some rain down here for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm on well water when it comes to watering my garden, because I've been pouring a lot of water on it. I'm getting some good results, but it's still it's every couple of days you're out there shuffling that thing around. Of course, you know the big problem is when it comes to guys. So the first thing when Sandy wanted a garden is that I had to have a riding tractor with a rototiller, right? Because we're going to do it right. We're going to do
Yep.
it right? So now I got a riding tractor and 5 foot rototiller out behind it, and so then I don't know. I got a couple acres under cultivation now, so it's a lot of watering. Let's get started first. Like, how did you get started into trapping, and where are you at? What's your country like where you trap?
Well, I didn't get started until I was about, I think I was 19. Did lots of hunting before. Like every minute I could, I was hunting, but I was running heavy equipment for a guy after high school, and he had trapped. In the winter, we'd have some slow days, and he didn't like laying me off. So he said, well, you might as well come with me for the day. So I did that. Oh, a few times the first winter, and then some the second winter. And then I kind of thought it was a pretty good deal. And a neighbor to my dad's, he was getting older, and he had a trap line. And so I bugged him a bunch. And then one day they were haying by my dad's, and his wife was there, and I kind of heard me, and she said, yeah, you're going with Bill. He's getting too old to be going by himself anymore, and I'm not going to let him go unless you're coming with him. So.
Oh, that's a great way to get in there, man. Oh man. And Bill had lots of experience, did he?
Yeah. I started trapping with him when he was, maybe 75.
Oh, just well seasoned.
Yeah, he had been trapping his whole life, and we're from Southern Alberta. I guess the one line is it's about an hour and a half southwest of Calgary, and the other one's about 2.5 hours southwest of Calgary. I own two different registered lines. And
okay. So are you in you must be then in the foothills or the eastern slope of the Rockies?
Yeah, it's the crown land here is not a great big swath of land, but it's pretty much heavy into the foothills, and then mountains is where both the trap lines are. So I get a bunch of real heavy timbered foothills, and then we get into real high elevation in the mountains. I guess not real high, but there's some sets that I'm about, I think I'm 6,800 feet where I'm setting martin sets at.
Oh, so you're above tree line then?
Oh yeah, yep.
Wow.
Yeah, lots of the passes we go through a pass and we're above tree line, and which isn't the best because it's usually chinooked and blowing off. So my snowmobiles take a shit kicking most of the winter.
I can imagine. How big are your lines?
Well, I'm trying to think of the township, but the one's 153 square miles, which I think is just over 4 townships.
Yeah, it
is. And the other one's right at 4 townships.
Wow.
So it's big, but there's lots of rock that not trappable. Meaning the big valleys that, I don't know, there's no animals that live in the rocks. So
Not very much. That's a fact. And access plays a big role there too, doesn't it?
oh yeah.
You know, you got a lot of country that you can't touch. You can't get there.
No, which in a way is good for, see, I always say that's where my seed martin always comes from, or the valleys that I can't get into, that once I trap the big valley out, the little valleys kind of seed the big one, and the cycle keeps going.
So you have a lot of martin?
Yeah, I did till they really logged it a bunch, but
That affected it, didn't it?
oh yeah, the one line that's quite a ways south of me, I figured it probably had the highest martin population in southern Alberta. It was really amazing that we could take in that 60 to 80 martin a year off of it. And I did for quite a few years. But now they've logged it real heavy and some of the real old growth stuff. And I'm still trying to figure it out, but we're doing around that 30 martin, and seems pretty sustainable right now.
I tell you what I learned on this last trap line, the one I have right now, about martin and logging, and that they just don't cross those big openings. They just don't cross those big openings at all. And you know, the martin are still there. You just have to change where you go. You know, whenever I have a fresh log over block, there's nothing in there. The first thing that you'll catch back in there is lynx. You know, as soon as there's any cover at all that will cover a bunny, you know, yeah, the lynx will at least walk through. Once you start getting those, you know, 10-foot tall aspens or whatever going back up again, then you know, around the edges you start getting the fisher. But martin just do not go through that stuff. I know Justin Wasasu, one of his lines up there on the I think it was on the Peace River, and when they were logging aspen there, and he said about 7 or 8 years in, when all the aspen were starting to get 12, 16 feet tall, all the volunteer stuff and that, then all of a sudden it was really good martin country.
Oh yeah. So I don't have any like poplar or aspen, or it's all pine and spruce.
Right.
And willow in the bottom of the valleys. We don't have any those trees at all.
So but
the martin I did find after they logged. So the year after, I did a real big explore in the area, and I found that the martin had moved into some spots where I'd never seen tracks before. I always called them dead areas of the line, and now they're the most productive there is.
So the martin are still there, but they're not in their preferred area, so they've been pushed into another area.
Yeah, I guess so. The one line, well, actually both lines are some of the oldest trees in southern Alberta, because the fire in the 30s never hit the two big valleys that I'm trapping. So some of those spruce trees in there, they're like 3.5 feet across, some of them. So
big stuff. Yeah.
The logging companies like those ones.
Yeah, I know. And and you know, you don't want to see them go to waste, but you know what using them looks like, right? You know, they denude the place. They just clean it flat. I know. I've always found it fascinating when you're dealing with an animal that you're so familiar with, and you know, we do a lot of martin trapping, and we do pretty good at it. But when I go to see my son, and he's got a trap line over there by Rocky Mountain House, and I think they top out. He's on Baseline Mountain, and I think he tops out at just under 5,000 feet. So he just gets above tree line in that, but he catches martin up there, you know, and he catches martin where I'd never catch a martin. And I'm just wondering if it's just because, you know, they get pushed into those areas. Like for me, I got this kind of goofy rule that I don't know when I picked up on it, but if I hang a box on a pine tree, I'm never going to catch a martin in it. You know, they like to be in the willows, the willow bottoms, you know, the big mixed hardwood is really good for them. Like especially when you got lots of BAM with that the buckbrush underneath, like the red dogwood and that kind of stuff. Like that is
Yeah.
just. I have a couple of ridges like that on my trap line, and those are just the dream. And yet, when I
Yeah.
go to my son's, all of his boxes are hanging on pine trees. It's like, and he catches this stuff above the tree line, like what you're talking about. Now I find that fascinating. So, are they
Well,
crossing over or what?
I don't catch them above tree line, but right at tree line.
Oh,
But
okay.
the majority of them are down in the bottoms, the creek bottoms, and I don't know. Like that you always find there's certain spots that just always catch martin. Like you're going to put 2 boxes there because it's a travel place for them, and
Yeah.
where the other ones, I've had it for enough years that when we go out and usually we'll put 80 to 100 boxes out in a couple of days, and I just know the spots where I'm going to put them now. That there's no sense putting them in other spots. But
So the other thing then I wonder about when martin are living in those mixed hardwoods and in those willow bottoms a lot, they're living on voles and mice.
yeah,
When they're in the pines and that are up and down those mountains, they must be more on squirrel, huh?
you see them where they're burrowing in under the snow, so I'm sure they're after voles.
Well, it depends. It depends. Like, I mean, martin can actually freeze to death. They have so little body fat,
Yeah, yeah,
and they do burrow underneath to stay alive. Like, I
yeah.
mean, they need that snow, and you have a winter like last winter where we didn't have a pile of snow. That's really hard on the martin. But I've shown it, a few times on the TV show where you can see that martin is hanging there by my box, and then there's a hole in the snow right below it. That's where he came up out of the snow, right? Because he's down there. That when the snow we always talk about, you got powder snow, and then you got that crystallized snow.
Yeah.
That crystallized snow is caused by sublimation, which means that the snow that's laying right against the ground, and the ground never freezes. Technically, it stays, if it's undisturbed, it stays at around zero degrees Celsius. So that the act of sublimation is that snow going straight into vapor, not going through the water stage, but going straight into vapor, and it rises up into the snow. Okay. And then it goes straight back into a solid form again. Goes from solid to
Okay.
vapor, back up here, and from vapor to solid. And that causes that crystallized snow. But what that does is that moves snow away from the area between the bottom of the snow and the top of the ground. So they have all this area in there, and it's called a subnivean climate, and they can travel around under there. The mice travel under there, the weasels and the martins, that kind of stuff. And that's why snow is really, really important to martin. You have enough years of not enough snow where you have, less than 9 inches of snow a winter, and it affects your martin population.
Well, I get lots of snow.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
My house is only an hour each way to either trap line, and most winters we're bare around my house. But in the mountains, I'll get, I don't know how deep it is, but 6 or 8 feet of snow, and like you have to have a snow machine to get around it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I bet you have one with 20 or 24-inch track.
Yeah, I got one with a 20, and then I still like the Tundras. I don't know.
Have you ever caught yourself yelling at the TV, telling the people that were hunting, fishing, or trapping they were doing it wrong? I know, we all do it. I do it. Well, here's your chance to come out on my trap line with Sandy and I and tell us what we're doing wrong. We are having a contest. We are giving away 3 days worth of trapping out on our trap line with us. All you have to do is get yourself to Grand Prairie, Alberta, and we will take it from there. We'll pick you up, we'll take you out to the trap line, and we will return your frozen carcass or your smiling face to the airport 3 days later. All you have to be is a member of trappinginc.locals.com. Be a supporting member. The draw is on September 1st. It's really, really simple. You go there to trappinginc.locals.com, and the very first post up on the news feed, it tells you how to enter and how to get in on this. We are easygoing. We are going to have a pile of fun. We are looking forward to having some new, fresh faces out on the trap line with us, and you're going to be a star or a guest of an episode of Trapping Inc. Season 8. Okay? Simple, simple, folks. Don't miss out. This is a great trip. Number one thing that gets requested of us is, how can I send my husband trapping with you guys? I'm willing to pay money. Well, maybe I shouldn't be advertising to you. I should be advertising to your wives. Come to trappinginc.locals.com and become a member. Simple. Don't miss out. And now let's get back to today's show.
Do you really?
Yep.
You are
Well,
far more coordinated than me, man. I get on one of them things and it's like a bull on top of a flea, and then look out, we got a disaster happening.
No,
I'm a
I
terrible
actually,
snowbird.
I quite like the Tundra. I'll always have one.
Yeah.
And I really like the 4-stroke motors that they're putting in these things.
Yep.
You don't smell after the day, and you get 3 times the mileage out of a tank of fuel. And
At least 3. Yeah, at least.
yeah,
You know what I found fascinating is everybody always talks about, what do you do? Because a 4-stroke, you can't pull start it. Well, you can't pull start your truck either. And I just carry one of those little tiny battery boosters. It's literally that big. And I've boosted a snowmobile, I've boosted Argo, that kind of stuff. I've never boosted my snowmobile because I always take care of my batteries. But whenever we've had a snowmobile that wouldn't start, it wasn't a 4-stroke. It was a 2-stroke.
no,
You know, and when you look into the fact of it, it's just the fact of when it is that cold. You know, they got to vaporize that gas and oil mixture, and
Yeah.
it becomes a problem when it gets to be so cold, right?
Yeah.
So I've always had the 4-stroke start for me, and man, like, you can run them for forever. You know, you gas them up on Tuesday and again the next Tuesday, kind of thing. You know, they just go and go and go.
yeah, no.
What other critters do you chase other than Martin there?
We don't have fisher down here, and we don't have otters, but all the rest of them we have. We got a fairly good lynx population, and I figure I'm at about the most northern that the bobcats are regular. That I have a regular bobcat harvest. No, I don't take lots, but 3 to 8 a winter, kind of a thing.
Can you, like, I mean, I've never trapped bobcat. I don't know nothing about them. Can you actually target bobcat, or is it just the same? You catch them the same thing as you do lynx?
The same way. They're, in my mind, they're easier to catch than a lynx, but
Boy, that's a put down, because the lynx is about as bright as a number 2 HB pencil.
what I mean is that if I get a bobcat that comes to a cubby, he goes right into it. He doesn't circle around it. If he's not interested in it, he won't circle it. He just walks right past it. He'll have a look, but just about all the time it'll be a straight line and they go right in.
And are you snaring them then?
Or body grips.
Oh, you get them into body grips?
Just about. Actually, last winter I said I'm not gonna use a snare all winter, and I used body grips and caught my quota of on both lines of lynx. We don't have a quota of bobcat, but I did good on them too.
What's your quota on lynx?
4 and an incidental on each line, so 10.
Okay. I run. You must remember the Schaub's stucco pen, and
Yep.
that has a 330 guarding the bait and then snares around it and that. This year, I set up a bunch of those, a whole bunch of them, because they've usually done pretty good.
Yeah.
And this year I got, I think 19 links, 2 of them in a 330.
Really?
Yep. Yeah. That was it. You know, it was like, I was going to make a show like going head to head that, and there wasn't much head to head to do. So
It, I've always done good with body grips. I don't know why. This year I said I wanted to use just all body grips. I built some movable cubbies that are like a stackable Martin box, but they're a size of 330 will fit in them.
yeah.
About 2 feet long with a screen on the end, and I'm sold. They're easy to move. Like if you had something crossing half a kilometer from where you had a set, you could just take no time at all, and you can move them fast. I think I could put 15 in my skimmer. So, and other than
Okay.
the cost of plywood this year, I don't know how many more I'm going to make, but
See, I haven't built any of my replacement Martin boxes yet because I'm waiting for it to go down, and it's starting to slide pretty good right now. So that's a good point. Tell me what your secret is then, buddy, because I probably have 24 of what you're talking about, and I haven't put them out in 4 years because I've never had a link stick his head in one of them. I've had them stand on top of them, but I've never had a link stick their head into a 330 like that. How do you set the box up? Is there something special height?
yeah, I would say I set it 8-10 inches off the ground, the front of it. I like in spots where I'm going to get even more snow, I make sure I set it up higher, but I make sure it's off the ground. So basically the triggers are at head height, and they're not going to try and put their paws in. They just are kind of their head going straight in. They're not going to be crouching down to it. But
so you're setting it right beside your trail. You just plop it on top of the snow and have it up 8-10 inches higher than the trail. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, or put a couple logs down and then have it on top.
Okay.
And
And how far in do you set that trap?
only maybe about that far.
That's it, huh? Okay,
Yep.
that might be the deal, because mine, I think mine were 2 feet deep, and I set the trap back at about a foot.
Yeah, mine's not very far in. And I was surprised this year. I never had a link circle them or nothing. They just went right into them.
What are you using for bait and lure?
And I tried a new thing this year again. I've always used links. I usually start the year with beaver.
Yeah.
Then once I catch some links, then it's links meat gets switched out. And this year I used all deer butcher scraps.
Really?
Yep. And I'll continue using that because I'll use a spinal column of a deer. You know, it's got lots of bone and
Yeah, a little bit of meat and everything. And only links go to it. You don't have any problems with coyotes or fox, or I guess fox wouldn't matter. He'd be done to you.
I caught quite a few fox this year in the boxes and I don't catch many fox down here, but I don't know. I caught a dozen fox or half a dozen fox in those boxes this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
And I caught some marten in them too. They're not targeted, but
I did once too. And it is the most hilarious thing because, you've got this little tiny marten and you got that 330. And I mean, your triggers are set about like that for, those trigger wires about like that. So, I mean, they could go in 2 by 2, like they're going onto the arc through there and not get caught. Well, I'm going along and it was frustrating. This was the first year of trying these things. And I was frustrated as all heck. And the cats would walk by. I couldn't even prove that the cat went like that and looked sideways at him, I couldn't even prove that because it was just like these tracks going straight on by. And I was using every lure everybody had ever dreamt of and everything else. And I shot a chicken, and So I breasted it out, and here's the chicken legs, and I'd thrown it in the freezer from earlier in the year, and it's so long, right? And I pull a trap out, throw it back in there, and then I come back the next time, and here's a martin, and he's caught in that 330. He had that chicken sideways in his mouth going out, and he's caught right there with it.
Yeah. I've tried every kind of bait you could think of, because I've had lots of the same way. That there's 2 or 3 weeks left in the season. I haven't caught a thing. They're just walking by, and I just try anything you can think of. One year, the neighbor was doing a bunch of ice fishing, and I had a whole bunch of pike carcasses that I put in, and that was the ticket that they wanted that year. I don't know if it was just something different, or that they were walking by everything else, and in 2 weeks I caught 10 links. So,
well, you got to pay attention to that kind of stuff. I mean,
then the next year I used the pike, and I never caught anything.
Yeah.
I thought there was some secret bait, but never.
I had a unique thing go. I have, I don't know, like 100 pins on my, and I don't do coveys like you do, or I have them, but I haven't been using them. But I do just snare pins, right?
Yep.
And I have my stick is in there, and it's got my homemade lure on it. And no bait, just that, right? I mean, if you catch a flying squirrel or something, you might hang that in there too, but that not very often. If I keep the bait out, then I don't have problems with coyotes and fox, pushing their way in and ripping everything up, right? Because they won't go through where you want them to go through. They'll come around back and go through and to get that flying squirrel or whatever. But I would just take and leave my lure sticks in there. And then it was a joke for a couple of years. You'd be out in October or before the season would start, and there'd be a little snow or whatever, and you'd see where the lynx had gone into the pens, and they would pull those sticks out, and they would roll on them, and they'd pee on them and stuff like that. And we'd laugh about it. And then I got thinking, I haven't put anything on that. There's not been any fresh lure put on that stick since back in January, right? Yeah. And yet it still was attracting them. And most lures that you use are curiosity lures, right? And you don't want that cat to go, solve his curiosity about that lure before the season. And so I had it where my lure was catching less and less and less, and I was actually catching more with the bait, right? In those stucco pens and that. I wasn't catching more. I mean, it was like 1/3, 2/3, but I was actually having cats walking by, and I got thinking, you know what? Maybe I'm stupid leaving those bait sticks in there. You think I think there's no smell there, but they obviously still smell it. So I started pulling my bait sticks, and last year was the first year that when I put the bait stick back in. Boom, walk right up, march right in, game over. Call the morgue.
I've tried the bait sticks, and I don't have much luck with it. I don't know why. I'm sure I'm using the same lure that you're using.
Oh, mine's cooking out back right now.
I always save it. So
yeah.
But I don't know.
I mean, animals are different everywhere, right? You were talking about fish carcasses, and I got friends that back in Ontario, and they have all very unique ways in that to catch otter, because otter cause problems, especially they get on the docks and into the boats and all that kind of stuff, and they're eating fish and they're making a mess, right? And one guy was talking about how he would take and put I think it was a 280 in a square mouth bucket, and he'd weight it so that it was laying horizontally, and then he'd just put it just underneath the surface of the water under the dock, and in the back he would hang a CD, and of course that CD with the waves and all that, it would be flashing all that, and he'd catch otter going in there all the time. It's a pure visual thing, which to me is very, very attractive to one of the animals, like an otter. And then another guy would talk about how he baited otter. Well, I have never had an otter respond to bait or lure ever. All mine are caught blind, and I mean, I could go out in the first week of otter season. And if I were to set out 24 traps, I would have my 12 otter in a week. You know, I'm allowed 12 just because they're so easy when things are froze up in that. But I have put out boxes that I put carcasses in, and the same thing like you're talking about, and otter go right by them. You know,
Yep.
and the mink could go in and out of them until they would bugger up and trip at 3:30 or whatever, but they would actually, you know, the otter would go right by them.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's all about. Wasn't it fresh? I mean, it was pike and whitefish, you know, carcass was there.
Maybe they like to catch their own. I don't know.
Well, otter are very, very fat. Matter of fact, I delivered a bunch of carcasses to biologists doing a study at the U of A this year, and they wanted to see the effects of parasites on otter and mink, and so they wanted carcasses, and I says, well, I would really be interested in your results because my otter and mink are really, really fat. And he says, what do you mean fat? Well, I says, when I skin them, of course, a lot of the fat pulls off on the hide, right? And comes with it. But, you know, I'll weigh it, and the hide and the fat with the fat on it before it was fleshed would be 6.5 pounds. And it would be, you know, 2 3/4 pounds when after it was fleshed. That's a lot of fat on a 25-pound otter, right? And so he was fascinated because he said that wasn't you know, he hadn't seen that level of fat in that. So I'm interested to see what happens. I delivered them to him, and it was like a drug deal in the parking lot of Costco in Edmonton. And of course, this is back in March, and so everybody's wearing masks, and it was just perfect, right?
Hey folks, Rich here with some exciting news from trappinginc.com. We were listening when you said you wanted more clothing, and we heard you loud and clear. We've expanded our clothing line, more colors, men's, ladies, and children's sizes, more variety. Living off grid gives more time for the creative juices to flow. New humorous observations are added weekly, as well as our classic Trapping Inc. logo. We have joined forces with TeePublic. You can find our TeePublic storefront from the store page on trappinginc.com. Just go to www.trappinginc.com/shop and just scroll down to find the link for our Trapping Inc. storefront. Or you can go to teepublic.com and enter Trapping Inc. TV in the search bar at the top. Check it out. Big sales every month, and you can save up to 35%. Don't miss out. Get your favorite gear today. And now let's get back to today's show.
Well, I was talking with Mark Sharpie last night from New York, Catskills in New York, and he catches a lot of mink there. And so I said, so what's it like to flesh your mink? And it sounds like to flesh his mink is a lot like fleshing one of our marten. Very, very little fat. You know,
ours have lots of fat.
Well, and he's just like, you've got to be careful that you don't take the saddle off because you'll damage it. Well, I have to take the saddle off. There's 1/8 of an inch of fat underneath it, you know? Yeah. So you must have then, do you target coyotes a lot or wolves or canines or?
I target everything the same.
Yeah.
Certain ones I target a little harder over certain times of the year, but I trap everything that I can trap. The muskrats, coyote. I haven't did muskrats for the last couple of years, just too busy. But I always do beaver in the spring, and I do some beaver in the winter. But we do lots of coyotes around home and private land. My son's probably, well, he's not catching more than me now, but he's doing pretty good here. If he'd forget about girls a little bit more, he'd probably he'd catch lots.
Has he got to be that age? Has he?
Oh yeah.
Last time I seen him, he was more interested in skinning a fox than anything else.
Yeah. No, and he catches lots. When he was 14, he bought himself a brand new 250 dirt bike with coyote money.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, no, see.
God bless him. That's we need more kids like that. Need more parents like raising kids like that.
Before he could drive, He took all my good baits that were close enough that the side-by-side could drive gravel roads to. He claimed all of them. He knew which ones were the big producer ones. So
for your coyotes and foxes and
yeah, coyotes. We don't have many fox at all. It's only the last year or two that we've caught quite a few fox. But
well, whenever the coyotes are high, I mean, the number one thing that a coyote eats is a fox. And whenever the coyotes are high, then there's not a lot of fox. Now, I don't know. This is just, don't quote me on this. It's just a personal idea, but we are hard on the coyotes right now because they're worth good money. It's not like it's reduced the coyote numbers that I can see very much as far as what gets shipped and all, but it seems like as the coyotes are getting targeted more, the fox are coming back more. I actually caught a fox actually I caught 2 fox last year on my coyote baits, and I've never seen a fox in the agriculture around here. You know what I mean?
yeah, in the past, I've caught a few fox in footholds, and I've let them go. They catch more mice around the house than anything. So, and then they weren't worth much, but now they're even worth less. They were always $20-$30, but I sent in, I don't know, few that I didn't want to tan this year. That I think the 4 fox, it was under $20 that I got for them.
I know. My muskrats usually pay for my fuel every year, and you get 500 to 1,000 muskrats. Well, this year all of a sudden they were they were hitting $6-7 US for muskrats, and other than that, but that was for 2X and 3X, right? And because I do a lot of most of my muskrat trapping happens in the fall, so you catch the little ones, right? You catch some of those little guys, and the extra smalls went for 25 cents each, so you got 4 for $1. That wasn't a big payday there by any means.
I traps. We target wolves quite a bit on the registered line, and then on some private land for some of the big ranches down here that they want me to come in, and we usually do pretty good.
How do you target them? Do you bait piles of snares, or do you foothold? What do you do?
I'd prefer to foothold all of them, but the ones in the mountains are too far away to have our check time, so they're usually snared, and I'll do 2 or 3 weeks. If I got them coming regularly, then I'll go and lay some steel in the ground and take advantage of that. But the 48-hour check times are ridiculous. But
I know what you're saying, and for me, my wolves come and they show up, and they might spend 1 or 2 nights on a bait. That's it, and then they're gone, and then they may not come back that winter. So to try and run a foothold for that stuff, it just doesn't work. Much to my chagrin, I would love for to be able to foothold more of them. Why do you like to catch them in foothold as compared to a snare?
They're always wary at a bait pile. A wolf is. I don't know, you're just using piss sets and turds. They don't get wary about it. I don't know. And I think you more can take the whole pack in that way, because the dominant ones are the first ones to pee on a piss post. So once you get the male or the female, the pack, they stay around.
Yeah. I've had that. I've got lucky, and I've nailed the female alpha a couple different times, and you'll end up catching the rest, the pups. Never only once I ever catch the male alpha, but they do hang around. It sure throws a wrench into everything for them.
Yeah, and I found that too. If I've snared the main female, you won't ever get a big male in there. You'll catch all the pups though.
Yeah,
but he won't come back to it. But with a foot trap, they'll come back to it. he's coming to go and find her. I don't know.
Well, I don't think there's any association with that bait, because I mean they're always leery around that bait because they know it's your bait, you know.
Yeah.
The best wolf I ever had anything to do with was Morley, and he said, you know, this is your bait, and they know that they're sharing it with you. And he said, but if you bring somebody else with you, he said they shouldn't get out of the machine, because that's gonna make them leery for a little bit of time as well. And I found it interesting. He says, you know, but they do associate a certain amount of danger with that bait, you know, and he made a lot of adaptations to overcome that danger, like by putting the bait downhill. And so when they come to it, they'd be looking downhill, and you know, so he says they're actually looking over top that snare, and they'll run their head through the snare and that kind of stuff. And it's fascinating how you know, how he'd reasoned it out, right? But that danger is a big deal, where when it's just out along the trail somewhere where they pee all the time, you know, like I mean that, and you know, when you travel your trap line a lot that you know where they're going to pee. When you see you got fresh wolves on your trail net, you know where the spots are going to be, don't you?
Oh, the one line that I've owned for close to 20 years, there's pee posts there that they've been used for that long. They're used every winter.
Yeah.
And you can take all of those wolves out of there, and for the new pack will start using that pee post again.
You know, it's really funny. I had an old trapper tell me this. He says the best, if you're going to be doing coyotes, canines now, he says the best thing you can do is have your dog along with you. Because he said, you watch where your dog, the weed or the tree or whatever that the dog picks out to go pee on. He says that's the same one that the coyotes have either already peed on or will pee on. And it's funny because, you know, as you walk along, and I walk with my dogs every night on my home quarter, and it is, you think that is the one that sticks out. That's the one that, you know, that's the main object and all that, and it won't be that one. You know, sometimes it will, but it isn't always, right? It's like when they plow roads here in the wintertime, and you get a lump of dirt gets up on the plow ridge, and it gets melted out and it rolls down. You know, it's dark and all that. Well, every coyote that comes down that road goes over there and pees on it, right? Lynx do too. Lynx do the exact same thing. They go over and pee on that lump as well. That one, you know, I mean, it's got a flashing neon sign on it, so I should be able to see it. But it's the trees and that they just blow me away. You know, I miss that all the time, right?
I take a dog with me trapping all the time until I got snares set. Some of the best snare sets I've ever had were, I put baits downhill on a real steep side hills, but I'll wait till we get a good skiff of snow, and we can't start snare until December 1st because of the G-bears down here. But then I'll take my dog and another dog that they like playing together and let them go through where we're going to set snares, and then you set on those dogs' tracks, and you wonder sometimes, why are they running consistently through the one spots? And they got a different view when they're running full tilt after each other where they want to go. So
that's fascinating.
And it's worked really good.
So do you avoid walking on those trails?
No, you can't avoid, because you got to go set on them, but
right.
The wolves are so goofy. Last winter, I had a tough time at the one bait. They'd visit the edges, and I mean the edges. We're 120 yards from the bait is where some of the snares are, and they knew. I don't know what it was. And then the one time they came in, I think there were 6 in the pack. 4 of them followed my snow boot tracks through the whole snare set. They never went in one snare. They followed my track, like in my boot prints. And they never did come back after that. They didn't eat on any of the bait. They just came in and...
Isn't that amazing?
Oh, they're so frustrating. I was footholding wolves this winter, and I caught the first three, I caught the male and the female, and then a younger one, say like a 65, 70-pound wolf, and there must have been another big wolf in there with them, and I caught it, but a rock had jammed in the jaws of the trap, and it managed to pull its foot out. Well, they avoided anything to do with a snowmobile track the rest of the winter.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I had a fella tell
and
me
I know better. I've trapped so many coyotes that I've had that happen, but some reason I thought these great big wolf traps are so powerful. It just crushed these little sandstone rock, but it jammed it up. And
do you have a favorite wolf trap?
yeah, I use all Dan Lay's traps.
Yeah.
I'm a big guy, and I need setters to set them pretty much.
I'm a big guy too, and I was just gonna say, like, I would need I need setters because I can't jump on them hard enough to get them to go.
They've got a technique where you can reach down the end, that you actually pull yourself down and you pull the levers down on them. But I prefer to use this. I can set any wolf trap out there by hand, but I can't set a lane number 76 or whatever they want to call them.
76. Yeah. Heck of a trap.
Yeah, they're strong. I've had them. We get so many Chinooks coming through where it's a thaw and then freeze, and they're the only ones that would consistently fire out of that crusted snow. And I've bought every wolf trap there is out there and tried them, and these ones they'll come out of that crusted snow, and not all the time, but a lot better than most of them.
Yeah.
And then they've passed the standards test here lately, so they just needed laminated. And
I wrote an article about that and about how what I thought of the standards, because I didn't think it was really fair. I mean, there was standards to make those traps pass, and so they all had to have a certain amount of offset. They had to be a certain amount of lamination. They had to be center swiveled, all that. So we've already designed everything. Every trap, they should be able to look at every trap and pass it. They shouldn't even have to go trapping with it. Well, when it turns out what's actually more important is the actual trapper, what he does, how many swivels he has on the chain, and whether or not it's in, there's a lot of grass that can make everything bind up, and that it's more best practices that's important there than the actual trap. So things like the Dan Lay didn't pass the first time, and that irked me. Coro didn't pass. That irked me because they already have all of the features that they're supposed to have to be an acceptable trap, but yet they didn't certify them. So it was kind of funny. I wrote that article, I think, back in June or whatever, and then it was September, October, when they started bringing out addendums to the regulations and saying that these traps had all passed. And
hey folks, Rich from Trapping Inc. TV here, and it's no secret that I'm a big fan of coffee. Our friends at Old Smokes smoke roast their coffee beans over wood fires. You have no idea how good coffee can taste until it's smoked coffee. Did you know that studies have shown that just the smell of fresh coffee can boost brain activity? Yeah, it's that good. Sandy and I have teamed up with Old Smokes Coffee to make our own Trapping Inc. coffee blend. Let me introduce you to Wolverine, an ultra dark roast coffee bean smoked over maple wood fires. This is the pure, uncut trapper's fuel that keeps us laughing and trapping all day long. If you'd like to try our special blend, you can find it at www.trappinginc.com/shop. If dark roast isn't your thing, Old Smokes has 5 different coffee roasts from light to extra dark, each roasted over a different wood for a unique flavor. Right now, you can order from their online store and use our promo code RICH, that's RICH, and get 10% off your entire order. Just go to www.oldsmokescoffee.com. That's OLE smokescoffee.com and use the promo code RICH. That is promo code RICH for 10% off your entire order. And now let's get back to today's show.
if I was going to say one thing to Dan Lay, he needs a better swivel on the bottom of his trap.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, that
no.
to me on a trap, especially a trap. What's that trap weigh? 7.5, 8.25 pounds, something like that.
It's one of the lighter ones. I don't know.
Well, LeBron is the biggest, and it's about
Yeah.
it's 9 pounds or just under 9 pounds. Maybe it's like 7 pounds, something like that for that Dan Lay, but it doesn't have a really good swivel, I don't think. You know, I mean,
No, you got to put swivels in line with it. So
we always do. Like, yeah,
that coral trap's a good trap. I have never caught one in it, but I only own one of them. But one day I'm going to catch one in them.
I used it a fair amount, and it's really funny because one of the conservation officers, and he's the head of enforcement out of Peace River, and that, so he's the guy that I deal with on my trap line. That he says that's my favorite trap. He says I don't know what I'm going to do now, you know, because he does. They have to do pest control on some of the remote cattle leases and that kind of stuff, right? And he says he can't understand it either, but they end up with, I mean, pass or fail depends on whether or not there's foot damage. Well, if that animal can wind that up, he's going to get foot damage, right? I mean, it's that simple. So, I mean, it comes down to then if you've got enough, how your chain setup is and how many swivels you have, that kind of stuff, right?
And I've found too, the wolf traps have to be strong enough that foot doesn't slide in the jaws. What I do for work, I do a lot of custom skinning. So I see a lot of wolves that are caught. And those traps that are on the weaker side, I think that their foot can slide in the jaws and it does more foot damage than a really strong trap that just holds it in one spot.
I couldn't believe like the Victor number 4 or something, 4 spring, and is actually approved for, and I've seen them get bent into a circle, like where the base plate on them is bent, like, and so that animal is pulling hard to do that. And to me, that's not right. One of the things you have to think about is the animal that if the animal feels like it's winning, like if it does get that trap to move or get loose on its foot, then it fights that much harder, right? Yeah. Let's talk about your, you do a lot of custom skinning, huh?
I used to do lots. I don't so much anymore, but
you tan? You have a tanning business? Yeah.
That's what I do full time is run a tannery. Probably 90%, 95% just for taxidermists.
Oh, okay.
Is majority what I'm doing.
You do work
for taxidermists? About 6 taxidermists, and that keeps me busy. All the fall animals are done by spring, and then all the spring bears are done by fall, and it's good. I got a good cycle going now here. And
what's the worst animal to tan?
Zebra. Oh, they're on the zebra, yeah. Or Cape buffalo are awful too.
Yeah.
Whatever they do over in Africa, they dip it in something, and it turns the hide to concrete.
Yeah.
The zebra's got a shield on their ass end that is, I don't know. It's hard as plastic.
Really?
Yeah. I guess it's just a protection thing when the lions or whatever's attacking them that can grab them on the ass. They can't get their claws into their ass.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I have pictures. Like we last time we were in Africa, we went to Kruger, and there are zebra everywhere there. You take a lot of pictures and you don't even realize what you're taking pictures of. And there was several of them where you could take a look at the picture afterwards, and you'd notice that their stripe on them would have a dip in it, And what it is, you'd realize that something had grabbed them on the butt, and they had, tore open their hide enough for it to show when it's scarred up, and that to show on those on the stripes. That's pretty fascinating. I think Sandy shot a zebra that was on the front leg or on the side. Same thing. The hide had been tore open on it once and managed to heal up and survive.
I see the inside of it, so I see all the scars on the leather side, and you can tell that they've been grabbed on both sides by a cat, or there's 4 claw marks that are foot long down them, or
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
they must thin the giraffe before they send them then.
I've never taken a giraffe in.
Okay. Because I know on the neck on them, there's like an inch and a half.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and so they do a lot of, what do they call it? When they thin the hide, what's the actual term for that?
Shaving?
Yes. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. They shave it with a wheel. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I watched them do it at a taxidermist in Africa, and they'd peel off these big old curls of it. I'm guessing there's a heck of an act to it, because it looks like something I could use to wreck something in a big hurry.
I sit at a shaver for 6 to 8 hours a day, every day.
Really?
Yeah, every animal's got to be thinned for a tan to take proper. Yeah.
So even like a wolf or lynx,
Yeah.
You thin them.
Just not very much, but you got to take a layer off so the fibers of the leather, the tan can go into the leather.
I wasn't aware of that. Huh.
You can get a tan without doing it, but you get a lot better tan if they are thinned.
Okay.
Like the necks are way thicker than anywhere else. Even on lynx, they're quite thick on the neck, and not thick, but comparably to their belly, their belly's like tissue paper. And
yeah. Fisher are terrible on the neck. You get a big old dog fisher. I got my biggest fisher ever last winter, 16 pounds, and I've caught them to 14 and a little over 14 pounds, and they'll shove their head into 120 and it'll do the job. This 16 pounder filled that 160. It was it was impressive. I was so excited. I brought it home and I weighed it, and I had to wait till it had thawed enough so I could take the trap off them, and that 16 pounds zero, not 1 ounce more or 1 ounce less. It was at 16 pounds. But I understand that they can get it to be 20 pounds or bigger.
Oh yeah.
What people tell me from back east, and not that I'm a doubting Thomas, but I'm a doubting Thomas. And it's like, I think you've caught the largest lynx I've ever heard of, 32 pounds or something.
I got one that was 38 pounds.
38. Okay. So I've never broke 30 pounds with lynx.
Every winter we get 1 or 2 over 30 pounds.
Wow.
I could cut 2 this year. There were 34 pounds.
Big males?
Yeah. And it's usually about end of February when they're starting to travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
End of February? You can't trap then.
February? No. The end of January.
Yeah.
Start of February. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That I would almost give up the whole rest of the season for the first week and the last 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for like lynx, you can really target the males at that time of the year with urine. I found urine works the best, and I never really realized it before, but I caught a female one time and she pissed on my boots after we dispatched her. And my next trip out, I had all them Tom lynx following my boot tracks from the snowmobile anywhere I would go, to every set.
Really?
And I was like, well, I remember that female peed on me, got it all over my boot. Well, she must have been in heat and they were looking for her.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like when I talked about earlier about the bait sticks we'd leave in, and they hadn't had nothing on them for 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, and the lynx were pulling them out and still paying attention to them. Their sense of smell. I wish I could see what goes on in their brain when they're smelling. Yeah. It's just like walking with your dog, right? And your dog will be running hard. My 2 bird dogs be running hard, and all of a sudden they'll both go into a big skid, and they'll turn around and their noses come back to the same spot and look at it, and it's just like, so is it like a picture comes up in their brain, or what happens? That would be so cool to see, if we could ever figure that out. Oh, I got a moose with and she's got a little baby walking across the front yard. It would be so cool to to see whatever goes on inside that brain, because that would sure make it take another level of communication, wouldn't it? You know,
Yeah.
it give you some
Oh
ideas.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you're talking about your dogs. I use them at the snare sets, and then I didn't last year, but for a long time before, I go about 3 hours east of my place and trap out in the bald prairie coyotes. But I'd use my dog. He digs all my dirt holes. He digs every one of them,
Yeah.
and he takes him no time. All I got to do is tell him to dig, and he'll dig until he'll bury himself. But it works really good for me, because then all of his scent is in there, and but he hates the traps, because I don't bring any of the traps out. Once he's done digging, I pull a trap out, and he's going to sit inside the truck. He got caught once, and that's enough. But yep, he'll dig them. I'll have to show you if we ever get together.
Oh, that's fascinating. You just
he'll
tell him
dig. Yep. I just tell him to dig. I'll show him a spot on the ground where I want, and he'll just start digging.
Oh man. Oh man. Don't tell me it's a lab.
Nope.
Oh, okay, good.
A
Springer
Spaniel.
Oh, a Springer Spaniel?
Yeah.
I can believe that. We had a Brittany. And she was bright enough to pass sixth grade math test. You know what I mean? You could literally be sitting around the campfire, and she'd be bugging you, and you say, well, go get a stick. I'll throw for you. She'd go get a stick, you know, that kind of stuff.
Oh,
right. Yeah. That is awesome. Well, sir, we're coming up on our hour here. I promised you I'd only take you up for an hour.
Oh, no, sounds good.
And I have really enjoyed talking with you. That, you know, that this is the part that I've hated most about this whole virus thing, is that we haven't been able to see nobody. You know?
Yeah. No, it's
we're so used to being able to visit with everybody, and especially the trapping community. It's a little smaller than most, so everybody knows one another, and it just hasn't been happening. And I'm looking forward to that changing.
Yeah, me too. No, there's friends all over Alberta that I haven't seen for a year and a half or whatever. So
yeah, exactly. You were saying that there's a get together on the 24th, July 24th.
Yeah, the Rimby, it's something Last Mountain Hall or
Where
Gary
if people were looking for it, where would they look? Is there a website or they should go to? Which trapping association?
It's the West Central
Trapping
Association. So I don't know. So Gary Gobertson emailed me all the details. So
I think I've seen, if anybody out there is interested and wants to go, Alberta Outdoorsman under the trapping section. I think they've posted that they have Gary has a site, has a post up there. So if you go to Alberta Outdoorsman and go to the trapping forum, you'll find all the information. Sounds like it's gonna be fun. I don't know if we're trying to get there. We'd love to. The biggest problem is that now that the world is kind of loosened up a little bit, everybody is. We need a kennel for our dogs, and our kennel lady is busy. So we'll see what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I hope to see you there.
Well, we're trying. We want badly, and I'm going to thank you. Get out of this here. I thank you very much for your time. I thank you for sharing some knowledge with us.
Yeah, you bet.
And I hope everybody else out there, I hope you had as much fun, as many laughs as we did today. And maybe we'll see you down the line. Take care.